Hello, beautiful soul, and welcome to the SoulFire podcast. I'm your host, Tammy Goerke. We're going to talk about all kinds of topics, all centrally focused on inspiring and empowering women, insights, tips, and tools for living life to its fullest. This is going to be a mix of solo chats and weekly interviews with women who are living life their way, whatever that may be, so that you can envision what's possible for you. I Am Inspiring Women is going to be a subsect of SoulFire podcast. Not sure if anybody's ever done that, but this is going to be 2 podcasts in one, so hope you enjoy. We'll talk about the ways to have an attitude that will get you through anything and what you can do to reconnect with your inner child and better manage those reactive emotions. We will discuss how to work through those limiting beliefs and what it takes to be a light in the world. This is a place to discover how other women are thriving in their chosen profession, whether it's an artist, a business owner, an entrepreneur, stay-at-home mom. Will discuss the real and honest truth about what being a woman means to us. These women talk about challenges and successes, how they deal with the ups and downs of life. These are real women who are sharing their stories so that you'll be encouraged to live your best life. Inspiration, motivation, and transformation. Let's encourage each other. Let's lift each other up. Let's learn and expand our possibilities in this world. Let's share with each other what being a woman means to us. Life is an adventure, and being a woman right now is the biggest adventure of all. A real long time. Mastering our moods, watching our words, restraining reactions instead of, reacting, responding in a kind and loving way. Mastery of, ourselves, how we treat others around us. Having a family and friends around you that teach you how to be a better person by pushing your buttons, by triggering your emotions. These are all fantastic ways for us to learn how to control ourselves. Controlling ourselves is not shutting ourselves down. It's not discounting our emotions or shutting off our emotions or, it's learning a better way to express those emotions, how to better communicate with those around us. It's something that is not often taught. We learn from our parents, we learn from those around us. If our parents are people who are great at expressing themselves, of course, we may have a better chance at that, but that's not always the case. Oftentimes, people have disagreements and, couples are not always the perfect couple. And so, we don't necessarily learn how to express ourselves in healthy ways. Healthy ways meaning boys can cry as well, and girls can get angry and speak their minds. We have to understand that emotions are something that teach us what our souls are trying to tell us. So if we're upset about something, when something is triggering us, it's oftentimes that, we see something in somebody else that maybe we don't like about ourselves, or we don't like the way that we're being treated. We don't feel like we're being treated respectfully. Well, if we're not being respectful to the other person, then obviously we're not going to be respected. But if we are sharing how we feel in a calm and collected way, it makes a difference. We can't know how the other person feels. We can't know how the other person is interpreting what we're saying. Oftentimes, I know for myself, I say things, I don't always consider how it comes out. I just say what I say. And sometimes, honestly, I can come across a bit harsh. And it's not that I'm intending to be mean. It's that I have learned how to speak very brusquely, very authoritatively. And it's taken some work for me to learn to temper my tone. That being said, I don't always succeed. There are some times when it's difficult. But if you pay attention to what you say and how you do things, how you come across, you have a better chance at having a successful conversation with someone. You have to understand that what you say and how you say it is not always interpreted by the person that you're speaking to in the same way that you intend it. And if you're not clear in trying to explain yourself, then you're going to obviously have miscommunication. being able to control your mood when you feel like you've been, shut down because the other person doesn't understand what you're saying or takes it the wrong way takes a lot of self-control. It takes a lot of, knowing yourself, knowing how you react to things and understanding that you have a choice. You don't always have to get upset and get mad and, blow up when someone around you says something that you take offense to. You can't control others. The only thing that you can control is the way that you respond. And if you respond in a way either enhances or lowers the energy around you, then you've made that choice. So you can choose to lift up the energy by taking a minute. "Hey, I don't understand what you're saying. It sounds like you're saying this. I'm interpreting it this way. I feel like this is how that, comment came across." Whatever it may be, speak your feelings from your point of view. Telling somebody else that you made me feel like this, it's all your fault, they're going to get defensive. They're going to feel hurt. They're going to get upset, and you're not going to have a constructive conversation. Take a breath, take some slow, deep breaths, step back from the stressors and allow yourself to have a chance to take a look from an outside perspective. How is it that you're coming across? There's this NLP practice that you can try that's really very, very interesting, is taking yourself and putting yourself into the third person perspective. So you can take a look at the conversation. You can do it while you're standing there, or you can do it afterwards. Or if you've got a touchy subject that you want to talk about, you can do this ahead of time. But what you do in essence is you imagine yourself speaking to this other person as yourself. And you say what you would say, and you listen to what you would say, and you're like, okay, that sounds really great. It sounds amazing. All right, I've got myself all set. And then take yourself and put yourself in the other person's position and listen to what you're telling them. What is it that you're saying? How is it coming across? Is it nice? Is it kind? Is it mean? Is it, short-tempered? Is your tone off? And then when you've done that and you've taken a look at how that sounds from the other person's perspective, then step out and stand in a third person's perspective and watch the conversation between you two. So imagine what the other person would say in response, and then what you would say in response to that person. Go back and forth through the whole conversation and see how it sounds from the outside perspective. You have more control over the conversation when you do that than if you just go into the conversation and just have at it without considering how it looks to the other person and how your responses or your reactions to that other person when they say what they're saying back to you. If you say something, kids are great at pushing buttons. Let me tell you, I love all my kids. They're amazing, spectacular people. They are independent. They are tenacious. They are self-aware to some degree for the age that they are. But my point is that they push my buttons. And the reason they push my buttons is because they're a lot like me and they think. They don't take no for an answer without wanting to know why. Why is it that I have to do this? And even then, sometimes they still continue to push buttons. I appreciate that they question. I have learned that I have to temper the way that I say things. And honestly, it's not been an easy road. I mean, when my eldest daughter was was little, I was horrible. I really was. Because I was young myself. I didn't know how to communicate. I hadn't learned how to speak to others. Now that I'm older, I take some more time to pay attention to how people are saying. If somebody gets upset, I don't take it to heart because I know that that's their reaction. And even if it's something that I've done, yes, I'm going to defend myself, but I don't get upset with the words or the tone or the whatever it may be as much because I know that that is their reaction. It does not reflect on me. I have the control of myself that I can take a breath and I can say, okay, I get that you're upset And I may not always say it outside. Sometimes I say it in my head and I'm like, okay, I get that they're upset. I know that things are really hard. I know that they don't understand. I know that I may have said something that was inappropriate. I may have said something that came across the wrong way. And more than likely, I probably did say something that came across the wrong way because I'm a work in progress. Guys, we all are works in progress. None of us is perfect. We all learn. And the older that we get, the better we get at this. So, taking that moment to say, okay, it it's not you that's upset. It's your reaction, and not getting upset with their behavior, getting upset with their behavior, not getting upset with the person. Because the person is still the person that you love. You still care about them. It's just that right now they're having a hissy fit. And allowing for that hissy fit, allowing for them to get angry and allowing for them to vent. I have absolutely no problem with, Roy will have a fit. He'll get upset with his computer and I'll hear him yelling and screaming and I'll come down and, be doing something and say something to him. He'll turn around and snap at me. And it's not me that he's yelling at. He's not upset with me. So I don't take it that he's upset with me. I know that there's preceding events that happened that caused that reaction. But it wasn't always that way. I didn't used to be like that. There was a time when I would have snapped right back. I would have jumped down his throat, or more than likely, what I really used to do as a defense mechanism was shut down and not talk and not say anything and go into my little cave of solace, basically, and hide away. That was my defense. Now I don't do that. Now I let it go. I don't say anything to him. I will come back to him later and say, okay, so you were upset earlier. Is everything all right now? Or, he even comes and apologizes. So that's fantastic. Apologizing for the way that you react is not a bad thing. It doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make you, inconsequential. It's actually a sign of strength. Crying is a sign of strength. Oh my gosh. Could have told me that a few years ago. I hated crying. Now that I've gotten more comfortable with it and allowing myself to be open with my emotions and open with how I feel makes all the difference. But being able to have that control over my negative reactions. It's not that I don't have negative reactions. We all have negative reactions. It's a part of life. It's okay for you to react and get upset and get angry as long as you realize that you can control that and you can temper that, or you can, go back and later and apologize. Don't say horrible, mean things when you're in a fit of anger, because words, regardless of what anybody says, do hurt and they do scar and they do remain a part of who you are for a very long time. And saying things that are hurtful, saying things that are mean and tear a person down does not make you feel good. Just because you're the one who's saying it doesn't make you feel good. It actually makes you feel worse. So why are you going to hurt yourself in the attempts to hurt somebody else? It's ridiculous. If you're angry, then yeah, scream and shout and, punch a pillow or do something, but don't hurt another person. You can say what you need to say without being mean. So if you allow yourself that other perspective, if you allow yourself to stand back and take a look at what you're actually feeling, you have a better chance of being able to communicate it in a calm way. So yes, you can get upset. Yes, you can be upset and be sad and be mad. But that self-control allows you to communicate in a productive way, allows you to get your feelings out and say what you need to say in a way that doesn't hurt the other person. Allow yourself the freedom to change your mind about a situation. Sometimes you may get upset and you realize, oh my gosh, I actually don't really believe that. I was defending an old belief because I thought that that's what was important to me at that time. But once I've taken the time to hear your side of the story, to hear your side of the conversation, now I understand that that is an antiquated belief that maybe I don't need to listen to. I don't need to pay attention to anymore. I don't need to believe anymore. But you never learn that, and you never gain that knowledge if you don't take the time to temper how you are reacting to someone when they say something that you don't like. There are a lot of different views in this world. There are a lot of different ideas about how we should live and who we should be. And, there are a lot of people who want to discount those ideas. It doesn't mean that they're wrong or they're right. That is their idea, that is their belief. And we all have a choice, and we can all decide whether what we believe is still, in fact, a true belief, or if it's something that we picked up along the way from our ancestors, from, family or friends or whatever, and it's not something that we hold true anymore. And we have the option, we have the opportunity to change that, to change how we see the world around us, to change how we see the people around us. It's very easy to get caught up in the craziness of things that are going on around you. It takes a strong and brave person to stand up and say, you know what? I don't believe that. I don't believe that people are this way, or that people never change, or, society doesn't change, or, things don't evolve and get better. It depends on who you are and how you react to the situation. We all have the ability to control ourselves, to, decide whether we want to improve ourselves or whether we want to stay the same, whether we like the negativity that's around us, or we decide we want to improve the situation and be the positive force, in the world. We have choice. We have free will. We don't have to do things the way our ancestors or our family and our friends do things. If we see things that need to change, then we need to change them. We don't have to keep things the same way. If it's not beneficial and it's not uplifting, then make a difference. Do something different. Step out. Speak out. Be the person who stands up for the person who can't stand up for themselves. It doesn't take much, you know? You don't have to go along with the crowd. If everybody around you is treating somebody unkindly and you don't think that that's right, then do something about it. Don't sit there and do nothing. Have your own self-control and decide whether what you want to do is the right thing or not. You make a choice, because you're a lot more powerful than you think you are. And your voice may sound kind of quiet initially, but it will get louder the more people that realize what you are saying is the truth. If it is in fact the truth. If you're going along with what everybody else says, and that is hurtful and it is mean and it is cruel, then that is not the truth. The truth is nothing but love. It is kind. It is caring. And we can make a difference. Boy, I'm becoming a woman on a soapbox here. So, self-control. Decide whether you want to make a difference in this world. Decide whether you want to react to people or you want to respond to them in a loving and kind way. So, I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you subscribe, and we'll see you again later. Bye.